Hey everybody, sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. And, it's part of, I think, a world-changing event. I really do. And this is just Welcome to episode 26 of the Lion's Pride Tavern. This week has been a pretty average WoW week for us here at LPT. We did great in our raid again, but no progression. Maybe there was just too much love in the air. But now that's over, so let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up, we have JobUui.
Hi, I'm JobUui. I play a Worgen Fire Mage.
Next up is Lorelei.
Hi, I'm Lorelei, your Knight of Fury Warrior.
Epistle is not here tonight. We don't know if he'll show up. He is a little under the weather, so we'll have update when we find out more. But Tapachino is with us tonight.
Hey, I'm Tapachino, your Resto Druid. Night Elf Resto Druid, that is.
And we have a special guest back with us under a new name, Bronzebeard. But we still refer him to Bronzebeard. He's still Bronzebeard to us. Bronzebeard, say hello.
Hello, I made a Fury Warrior on Proudmoore.
Very good. And that's why you changed your name, correct? Because
Proudmoore. I had to change the name. Oh well.
That's all right. Like we said, you're still Bronzebeard to us. But I do like the Bronzebeard. That's a good play. I like that. Any particular reason why Bronzebeard?
I was looking for a name that sounded phonetically similar, and that's the best I could come up with.
Doesn't have anything to do with your virtual drinking problem?
No. Wrong guy. Not the one with the problem. That'll be Morgan.
I like the virtual.
Yeah. Well, I think your dad kind of slips it in there where, you well, I guess really not. I guess that is more Worgen, isn't it?
Although he kind of got it from me.
Brother teach brother. Yeah, there you go. I like it.
He learned it by watching you.
All right, so some exciting news, guys. 25 weeks podcast has gone by.
Wow.
And I have met a fan on YouTube. I was actually just kind of carousing people on YouTube and seeing if they were putting out any content for World of Warcraft, that kind of stuff. And I ran across this YouTube account called Love Sweet Charity. She actually friended me on Twitter. And I thought, what a really cool name. So I went to look at her. She said she was a YouTuber, and I went and looked. She's only got 4 subscribers. And so I commented on her video it was like, oh man, almost like a year and a half, 2 years old, something like that. It was Pandarian content where she was pulling this big pot of boiling food behind her. She had to drag it for a quest. And she thought that was hilarious, so she filmed it. And as I commented to her and she went to my YouTube channel to sub me, she realized I was the host of the Lion's Pride Tavern. And she says, I listen to you guys while I'm at work. So I got back to her and I said, hey, do you mind if we mention your specific name on our podcast tonight, that you listen to us and that you're having a blast listening to us? Because, we just hit the 2,000 mark.
Wow.
On people listening to us. Yes. Almost 500 just from Podomatic.com and 1,500 from Google Play, iTunes, and YouTube. Got a new country that's listening to us, India. So welcome, India. But
welcome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would say something. I would say something in Farsi, but I don't speak Farsi. Sorry.
Yeah, we're just some Americans and Canadians. Of course, whatever. That's us. But we are all Azrothians.
That's
Like
very
that?
true.
That is true.
I believe this game actually brings people from all over the world together in a common ground, and I think that's great. I mean, this is one of those barrier-breaking games that's going to surpass. It's going to go down in history, guys, and we're a part of it. Especially those of us who've had paid $15 a month for the last what's their anniversary coming up now? 12, 15?
Oh boy, I think it might be the 13th. I'm not sure though.
I don't know, but I paid a lot of money, 4 accounts, $15 a month for all those years from the start. But that's all right. I enjoy it. It's great. And, it's part of, I think, a world-changing event. I really do. And this is just the beginning. So let's talk about our raid. Like I mentioned in our start, we didn't really progress. A couple of cool things happened, though. So, JobUui, why don't you kind of give us a brief rundown?
Well, starting off, our first night of raiding, we the previous week we had pushed a little bit to try and get through the first 6 bosses, or at least our first 6, because after the first 4, the next are optional. So we this week we did the same thing without any kind of pushing in that direction, and still made it through the first 6 bosses on our first night, which was great. The 2 optionals that we did would have been Croesus and Star Augur. The second night we went after High Botanist Talarn again, and we got him down on our second pull. The first pull we got overrun by weeds due to a slight mishap, and then took him out on the second pull. Then we went on to Tichondrius, and let me just say, 27k. That's
Yeah.
That's-
Oh god,
that's how close we got
that was
to
painful.
taking down Tichondrius. We could have sneezed at him, and he would have gone down, and it would have been our first kill. But unfortunately, everybody died when the boss had 27,000 hit points left.
Spitball would have done it.
Oh, jeez, just anything. It was a great effort. Everybody had improved from the previous week. We were getting the mechanics down a little bit better, but fell short by just a hair.
Yep. It was close. I mean, I know we're gonna get down next week, just from the fact that 27k.
I know, 27k. I can't tell you how many things I've thought. Well, if I'd have just blinked and done anything, if I'd have put my shield up, if I'd have casted any spell,
I think you were the last DPS alive.
Yeah, actually, I think Dorned was the last DPS alive, and it was just so tight. It was such a close call, and we just fell short.
Actually, I think it was Yang who was alive last.
I know.
It could have been.
I died right before the boss, before we all died, and I'm like, oh, just one Moonfire would have done it, one Sunfire, and I couldn't get it off either.
I know. I was taking a dirt nap, so. All right. So, Lorelei, your opinion on how we did?
I'm the mechanics police. I'll admit to that. I think we did a great job on it this week. I will say that. But I noticed after a couple of times of getting the infection, because people were running back over to the healthy side, and then he was casting the swarm, that we have to really tighten up on the mechanics. There's still some things to do with where the boss is, and I really believe that the boss should just stay in the middle and not move, because that created a lot of problems with the pillars going in all kind of weird places. And then if you weren't near where it was, you had to go run all the way across the room. And I know several people died just from trying to find a pillar. So I think once we tighten up on mechanics and everybody kind of stays on the right side of the room that they're supposed to be on, he'll go down, because that's 27k is one hit by somebody.
Yep. And we did we did have a few new players, which we pull a lot of our players from Open Raid. You know, I'm because we're getting close to our max limit. I watch it, and I just want to let all of our listeners know, if you want to get in with us, that's fine. But you may not get in the first weekend, but do put your name down, because we watch those names that sit in reserve, because we want, you know, long-term players just like anybody else does. But, you know, there's a lot of people that I've been through this before with Open Raid. I invite all these people and they show up for one raid and that's it. And, you know, I want people to come back time and time again, because we're just we're a tight-knit group of really fun people. And a lot of our stuff now is coming from people who invite their friends and say, you got to come raid with us. I got one guy, like I mentioned last podcast, that he started playing WoW again because he just had a terrible time with it because he couldn't get into a decent raid group. And he started leveling his tune, and he's like, okay, level 1. He got to level 30, I think, and he's like, okay, enough of this, and he boosted it.
Yeah.
I was wondering how he showed up, because I'm like, wait a minute, that was awfully quick.
Yeah, that's a fast for coming back to it. I will say that it's openraid.us, and then
Thank you.
.us.
Yes.
yeah, it is.
Is
I
it
didn't think it was
.us.com?
It's it's just .us.
It's .us, but and then it goes. Once you type that in, it'll go to an actual like .com site. It's like zergid.com. But openraid.us will get you there.
Yeah.
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 It is a .com, but once you get to the site.
Zerg bought them out about not even quite a year ago.
Yeah,
and,
it wasn't too long.
You know, nothing against Zerg, but their site just hasn't been there. I've been questioning, when are you going to let me put, you know, the correct level caps in, and when are you going to, you know, they took forever, you know, to set it to where you could actually say the people that can join this raid when you're setting up a raid have to be level 110. You know, for the longest time they said, well, just put it at 100 and then just put in your description that it has to be 110. I was like, but that's not the point, you know.
Yeah.
There's a drop down menu. All you got to do is add 10 more. You know, 110. And it's
Sure.
not gonna, you know, I just don't think they're putting enough into their site since they bought it. I really don't know. I know it's kind of frustrating, but there again, put your names down. We do watch it. My wife and I are the ones that do all the approvals. And if you guys are raiding with us, you know, please, you know, sign up. Gives us kind of a sense of how many people are going to be there, how many healers we'll have. We do not need tanks. So if you're a tank, I'm sorry. Find a DPS spec. We've got tanks, and we've got good tanks. We got a lot of druid healers, which are fantastic. Yes. And we're what do you think? We're about 50-50 on ranged and melee?
Yeah, roughly that. Our diversity in our DPS is a little bit lacking. We have, there's like 2 mages that usually show up. There's 1 Death Knight that DPSs occasionally. We have a bunch of paladins. We have a bunch of hunters. We've got 1 warlock that raids with us. We could use some more diversity in our DPS, I think, but I don't know if that's so much an aspect of who's signing up as in who's playing what kind of thing. But it would be interesting to see some, you know, like maybe a monk or
Priest or
Rogue.
priest. Yeah, shadow priest would be great.
Rogues have disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah, rogues. Where are our rogues? Where's our backstabs?
There's going to be one coming.
Yeah, so
Hey.
I mean, you know, but we'll you know, as far as DPS goes, you know, I gotta say, in general, we care more about you doing the mechanics than we do about absolutely astounding numbers. I mean, doing good numbers is great, but doing mechanics is better.
Yes. All right, so let's just back up a little bit because I left off at Lorelei. Tapachino, how do you think we did on our raid?
Yep, I think we did really good. You know, like Lorelei said, we've got to tighten up our mechanics. We had a couple of new people, and they're learning quick, so that was great. I'd like to say one of the tips we had from one of our healers, Faye, is that the healers get this debuff called Burning Soul, which you have to get away from people and then debuff yourself. And just, she had mentioned if you kind of get about 8 feet away from the rest of the group, but still close enough to heal, then you don't have to move too much and you can just dispel yourself. So I thought that was a really good tip that we started that night, or started last night, and it seemed to really work well. But yeah, great time. I think everyone did really well. Everybody's concentrating and really trying to, get this boss down. And like I said, we'll get him down next week.
Yeah, well, it is progression, for us. And, we've only, maybe 4 or 5 polls on him, because he's always the last one.
Yeah, I think we've only done him a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're up to, I think we're at 6 pulls right now, 4 of which I think were face pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that weekend again.
Although we did all cheer when we got to a countdown and got to 0 last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. Bronzebeard, what do you think?
Well, most of Friday was business as usual, with the exception of... What's he called again? Chromatic Anomaly? Yeah.
Chromatic, yeah.
Well, using his cheese strategy that I'd learned from another raid group, we beat the boss a minute sooner than our previous record, which was nice. Other than that, it's just sort of going through the bosses and Tichondrius. We'll get him eventually.
Hey, Bronze, if I can just ask you a question, that you use the term cheese, and truthfully, it's like the first time I heard it was this weekend when we were doing the Heroes of the Storm. Can you explain what that means?
The concept of cheese is essentially doing a strategy that wasn't exactly built in, and it's not exactly apparent, but it's essentially just exploiting a weakness in the underlying mechanism that you're playing against.
Do me a favor, because you're the one that actually brought it to our attention. Explain to us what we had to do with Chromatic.
Essentially, Chromatic Anomaly, in between the slow phases, like after he spawned his ads, will do a channel and will deal damage. Normally what you're supposed to do is cancel that immediately because the damage is a pain to deal with for healers over time. But it's not instant raid wipe damage. You can afford to take a lot of it. So by stacking your group up to maximize AoE heals, you can basically just sort of hero, pop cooldowns, do a bunch of damage while the boss is channeling, and he's a sitting duck for a minute, and it's basically just free time where you don't have to deal with the slow debuff.
We literally shaved a minute off our fastest time to take down that boss. So it was an awesome way to do it, provided, and I'm assuming I'm reading you right, provided that you can actually withstand the damage that's being done by doing the AoE healing and such.
Yeah, I mean, done wrong, it's a surefire way to wipe your group.
I think
it requires strong tanks and strong heals is what that one requires,
Yeah,
which we
definitely
have both of.
Yeah, I think this is a really good use of tranquility with all our druids. That's what druids are. They're more, dots and AoE. So it worked well.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you bringing that to us, Bronze. I mean, that was awesome. And I know you run with is it a Mythic group?
Mythic was a Mythic group. They are busy doing heroic progression.
Oh,
So it's sort of
cool.
like a mid-tier Mythic group. So kind of, yeah, they're up there, but they're not gods of Azeroth or something like that.
Yeah, we don't play with those people. We don't play with the gods.
Oh, by the way, I don't want to undermine we had a healer priest, and also a pally, and they were very valuable as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have a lot of druid heals, and I think maybe Tap, you can even explain why. Why do you think we have so many druid healers in our
Because
group?
they are just so much damn fun to play. They really are. Druids are a lot of fun. There's a lot of versatility with the druid, so I think that it's very popular in that sense, and the heals are a lot of fun to do.
So you don't think they heal better than the others?
Every healing spec has their strengths and their weaknesses. For instance, druid healers, they have got restos, so they can, do some mass heals or, mass raid healing. Other specs are better at like single target healing and better with, single targets like maybe on the tanks and so everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and I wouldn't put one healing spec over another. I think that they all have their merits, and it's how you play them too. If you know your spec, you know how to play it, then you're gonna do well,
Okay.
regardless of what you are.
Yeah. Now I know because I have a druid healer, and the reason I took a druid healer is because I thought it was easier to play than the other specs. I do have a priest healer. I do have a paladin healer. They do great burst healing, but for long term, I mean, I like to see as soon as somebody takes some damage, I like to throw that renew on them, and let them build up,
and
Exactly. So I honestly, in my personal opinion, I believe it's easier to heal with a druid than it is with the other ones because you don't have to really pay as close an attention as you do as in the other specs on what's going on, and you don't have to wait as long, because you've got a lot of burst healing with some of the other specs. But yeah,
yeah,
I
you
think we're
don't.
lucky to have that many druids.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I mean, you still have to know the fight, but you don't have to anticipate the big massive damage as much as like maybe the other specs do. Because like you said, we have a lot of hot, so we're putting a lot of healing over time spells on people. But you do have to be cognizant, I think, of what's going on because of some of the boss fights, you have to be able to, hit that tranquility before the raid takes too much damage and stuff. So I see what you mean by easier. I mean, I don't think it's easy, but I think it's easier. And I'm not trying to undermine it in that way at all, but I think it's maybe a calmer would be a better word to use. It's not so intense,
Yeah,
if that
fair
makes
enough.
sense.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. All right, so moving on. Let's, the WoW tokens. Blizzard did their little, buy a WoW token for $20 to get a bunch of gold, and then the guy who bought it can turn around and sell it for or use it for $15 cash on their Blizzard account. So Blizzard makes $5 every time. I mean, that's pretty cool for them. But the big question now is, how do you make gold fast enough? How do you make that money so you can purchase those tokens? Because I know, and I haven't looked, maybe somebody can look for me while we're doing this, what the WoW token price is in the US yet. I mean, when they announced it a couple weeks ago, it hit like 115,000 gold, and then it slowly started dropping. I remember the last time I looked, it was at like 70,000, 79,000, somewhere in there.
It's
Between
floating
70 and 80.
around. It's floating around 80 to 85 currently. Currently it's at 88,977. So almost 90,000.
Okay.
But it's been going up and down a little bit between, I'd say, 90 and 80,000 really.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed it dropped from the big 115. I think that was the spike, and now it's still higher than it was in the past, because I remember buying them for 60, 65,000, 50. I think I bought one for 50.
I remember buying one for like 25K.
A heck of a lot better than it is in China, where it's 272,000.
Right.
Yeah, but they make like how much gold? you know,
Well, I mean, it's still,
they're good at making gold.
so some of the there really isn't any surefire methods of making gold quick. We've discussed this in the past, but there are a few other methods that you can do if you put it into your routine of when you're out playing and running around that can make you some money. So let's talk about a few of those. Jobu, you want to talk about one of those?
One of the ways that is pretty low effort. It takes a little bit of investment time. It's very similar to back in the day of garrisons. Essentially, if you take your champions and you get them leveled up to 800 and you get them leveled up to epic level, and then but just by running missions, getting them experience, then you give them some armaments, some armor. That'll take them up to item level 850, and you give them a few of the champion armaments, or a couple of them rather. They can have two that can increase your ability to complete missions with a greater chance, or depending on the scenario, whether it's over time or if they're connected with some of your like minion type of things that you can generate from in your class hall. You can do champion missions that will grant gold. Now, the initial gold that it gives you is somewhere between about 500 and I've seen as high as like around 850 or so. Um, but the key really is the bonus, because the bonus will give you 1500 gold. So you're looking at anywhere from 2100 gold to about 23 to 2400 gold out of a single champion mission. And that can be a great way to earn a little extra gold with very little effort.
Very good. That's a really good tip. Lorelai, you got one?
Yeah, I think just watching the auction house and what kind of professions are being very successful. Um, I started selling potions again, and prices had gone back up. So I sold 6 potions on my server, and they went anywhere from 650 to over 700 gold apiece. So that, I mean, that's not going to happen every day, but uh, it's a decent way to make money since professions are so kind of wacky right now with people having to do a lot of extra questing and raiding to get them. That's what I found that's been working for me right now.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Tapachino?
Um, I do like what Joe does, is I make gold off my mission boards, and the world quests can also be pretty lucrative here and there. You might get some, kill a world boss, you get about 770 gold. Granted, it's only, once a week, but there's a lot of, quests that might give you 99 or a couple hundred, so that can add up. Also, even just getting junk. I mean, some of the junk you can get, the gray items can sell, for a good amount of gold. I might, see just a few hundred just in selling junk in a couple of hours, and that can add up as well. So it's not been much of a problem earning gold. I mean, I'm not getting big gold. I don't sell flasks. I mean, I use them myself and for the guild, so um, I actually have never really gotten much into the auction house except to buy stuff, but and sometimes some gear drops. That's pretty good. Like in some raids, you might get a BOE, and you can sell that in the auction house for thousands and thousands of gold. So those are a few of the ways I've been able to do it myself.
Very cool. Bronze, you got any methods of making gold?
Well, other than always rolling need, there's something you can do with the follower where you basically grab two of the things that give gold on world quests, and that's an extra 50 gold every world quest. So it's just sort of like, it adds up. It's pocket change, but if you're doing a lot of world quests, it'll add up.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good tip. So one of the ones I found was the bloods of Sargeras. If you're not a crafter and you don't need the bloods for doing any of that stuff, they sell pretty well in the auction house. And well, just any mats in general. I mean, if you just go out and get ore or herbs, do any of those and just throw them on the auction house. I like to use Auctioneer. You can set it up to do that's an add-on. You can set it up to do a cut under the lowest price. So I mean, if you don't care and you just wasting time and running around, pick up that ore, pick up those herbs. Fishing is always another good one. You can sell it on the auction house, but the bloods, there's a shoulder enchant that you can get called the Boon of the Blood Hunter, and every once in a while it'll drop a Blood Hunter's Quarry that'll give you 1 to 5 bloods. So that's a good way of getting bloods, and then of course then you just turn around and sell them on the auction house. And then going into Mythic Plus dungeons, they seem to drop quite a few bloods in the ones that I've been running lately. That I think I had 6 bloods because I had sold them all and ran a couple Mythic Pluses, and I don't have the boon for the shoulders, but I came out of the Mythic Pluses. I think I ran 2, and I came out with 14. So I was like, wow, that was pretty impressive. So, but I like all those ideas. Those are good, very easy ways of making some gold. That's awesome.
Oh, I just thought of another one that's pretty cool, is just doing some of the old raids. You can pick up some pretty good gold doing those too, and selling the equipment that drops, the gear and stuff that drops, because you can pretty much solo them now.
Yeah, I'm like you. The gray items and stuff, I use Cellomatic as an add-on. So every time I actually open up somebody that I can buy from or sell from, it automatically sells all my grays. I don't even have to think about it. It's an awesome add-on.
Oh, that's cool.
I never skip loot in a raid or a dungeon. But I'm a hunter, so I can just, I do my fetch and my pet runs out there and picks it up. So
I'm so jealous of that, by the way. I want Lootering back.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Let's do a revolution. We have 2,000 listeners. Let's all contact Blizzard and tell them, give us our Looterangs back.
We want Lootering.
I do miss my Looterang.
I think everybody does. I have never met anybody yet that said, I really hated that thing. I like running after my loot.
And then you get the engineers. Is it the engineers that make them?
Yep.
They're going, what? If you could be an engineer and you could have one, it's like, oh, then you won't get any flasks during the raid, because I'll be an engineer instead of an alchemist.
So, Heroes of the Storm. Anybody who did not get their mount last week, did they get it this week?
No.
I got it just before I logged in to discuss the podcast tonight. I just got it.
Nice. I did notice as we were starting I think it was our Friday. No, it was our Saturday raid. Our Saturday raid. We're all starting right before we. No, where was that? Yeah, that was right up. And I noticed there was like 6 people running around on the mounts from Heroes of the Storm. I was like, oh, look at you guys, yeah.
Well, I gotta run around on it. I mean, it matches my outfit.
Oh my God, Jobui, you look awesome on that thing.
Yeah.
It fits so perfect. It's
Definitely.
like tailor-made for my outfit.
You remember that little cartoon that ran around? It was a little fire guy, and the guys kind of swat it, and it splits into 2. That's what Jobui reminds me of, that little fire guy running around.
Yeah, I'm a very fiery dude.
And when you do your special mount, the special mount move, his jaw just opens up, and it's like these fiery tendons of what's holding his jaw together. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, Lorelei, you and I are going to have to play Heroes of the Storm, I guess, and get our mounts.
We're going to have to.
Don't you have a lot of mounts?
I do. So
Yeah.
he'll get put into the random mount list, and maybe one day he'll pop up.
Bronzebeard, do you have the mount?
The thing is, I actually play Heroes of the Storm, so I was actively avoiding, while I was playing with friends, I was actively avoiding Warcraft heroes, even to my detriment, because I didn't want to trigger the quest for the mount prematurely, because if I did, it means that I couldn't have lined up the stim packs, that I couldn't have ground gold in Heroes of the Storm, so it's just this horrible mess that was driving me nuts. But yeah, I have it now.
I actually got the stim packs unlocked at that last fight, that 15th fight. And that was a fun game. I'm going to play again myself.
You like Heroes of the Storm, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun actually to play. It's a little takes a little getting used to. You have to, if you've played Diablo, then you kind of, can get the movement down. But it just takes a little bit getting used to. And actually, Bronzebeard suggested the perfect character for me to play Malfurion because, he's a healer and he's a druid, so he's got some of the same spells that I have in the game. So that was very helpful. By the way, thank you, Bronze.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, I got a fan asked question. Not a lot of activity, even though we've got 2,000 fans now. But he asked, "Is there a way to get legendaries to drop faster?" Jobui, you want to? Because I know you've talked about this before with the what do they call it? The error roll.
The
You know
you're
what I'm talking
talking you're talking about the bad luck protection.
Bad luck. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there is not a way really to make legendaries drop faster realistically. It's said that the harder the content that you do, the more likely it is that a legendary will drop. Um, I know that for the first couple, you have a bad luck mechanic, which means that the more content you do, every time you don't get a legendary off of a drop, when you kill a world boss, open an emissary quest, get loot off a dungeon, then your chances increase gradually that you'll get a legendary sometime in the near future. But there's still no guarantee, that you're going to get it right away. It'll happen eventually, but trying to force it to happen is pretty difficult to do. After the first couple, your chances of getting a legendary flatten out, and you just have the same chance every time you get a piece of loot to get a legendary. For an example, you have done pretty much as many raids as I have for the most part, and maybe a little bit less, but not much. And you've got one legendary, whereas I have done a lot of content, like doing like world quests and all that sort of thing, and I'm sitting at 6. So, um, it's a bit of RNG, which Legion seems really RNG. And for our unfamiliar listeners out there, RNG stands for random number generator. So it's just, whether or not you get that roll that works out just perfect for you. But no, there's not really a surefire way to ensure that you'll get a legendary. Um, the only way you can improve your chances really is to do the hardest content that you can do with your tune.
And that's still no guarantee.
Yeah, and that's still not a guarantee. It just improves your chances slightly.
Well, this is what I found as a guarantee. If you bitch that you're the last person that has ever gotten a legendary, on the next raid, you'll get it.
And maybe some tier gear, was it, Cal?
Yeah, I should have went to Vegas that weekend. I'm telling you, I got tier gear, I got gear that increased my item level, and I got a legendary. And we were just talking about that in the podcast, that I'm like the unluckiest person in the world, and bang,
Yeah.
it was just off a boss too.
And they are making some changes to the way legendaries drop in the near future. Currently, it drops for whatever spec you have your loot set to. So, like, if I'm
be careful.
Yeah, if I'm playing as a fire mage, and I have my loot set to my current spec, then I will get a legendary that is appropriate for fire mage. If I want a legendary for frost mage, I can set my loot spec to frost mage, and then my legendary would drop for a frost mage, which there is some crossover, but there are particular pieces that are specific to the spec. And the same would go for an example, a death knight. If you're playing a blood death knight tank, and you want to get you want to get a legendary for your frost DPS spec, then you would need to set your loot spec to frost, and then if you get a legendary, it'll go to that. However, with 7.2, Allegedly, what they're going to do is there will be a token that you get that is in a legendary item. And when you open that token, uh, it will give you a legendary item. However, that'll give you the time to change specs and make sure you're in the correct spec before you open it, so that it gives you an item that's appropriate for the spec that you want it for.
Wow, that's good news, because I know I was playing around on my DPS. I had the one legendary, the one that gives you the shield, which is nice to have a shield, but it doesn't really help you healing. But I was running around on my DPS, and a legendary dropped, and it was a ring, nice ring, but it's not a healing ring, and I didn't realize that I hadn't set it to restoration, and I was on my current spec, so now I've got that legendary that it's nice to have on my DPS spec, but I really want to obviously concentrate on my heals. So that is nice to know that, you get that chance to say, oh my goodness, I didn't really mean to, have that drop on that spec.
Yeah, also keep in mind that I believe that every spec and class has 10 legendaries that are available, which means that when you get a legendary, it's going to randomly choose from the legendaries you do not have, and it will give you one of those. So you may not get the legendary that you really are hoping for. I mean, like I said, I've got 6 out of 10 so far, and I'm still missing one of the ones that I really, really want. So, uh, just keep trying, and they'll show up eventually for you.
Yeah, I've got 3, and only one is a healing legendary, and that's my feet. What would be nice is like they do with the Tia gear, if it could switch, when you're different specs, you can use the same legendary. That would be kind of cool.
There are some classes. Well, for an example, in a mage spec, I have 2 legendary items that are transferable between Frost, Arcane, and Fire spec. The rest of them are specific to Fire, but I have 2 that are interchangeable. I'm not sure how much interchangeability there is amongst other specs, though, or other classes and specs.
Yeah, the ones for Resto Druid, for instance, are very particular. At least the ones I've seen so far.
Yeah, I'd just like to start getting some more. I got them. I got them really quick. Like the first 3 weeks, I got one per week, and now I haven't seen anything drop in a long
Yeah,
time.
I'm really hoping for another one too.
Yeah,
I haven't
sometimes.
seen, and I do a lot of stuff, and I just haven't seen them. Then haven't been dropping for me.
Sometimes I do things that are, just more superstition than anything else. Like I'll sometimes wait until I have 3 emissary quests lined up, because that's the maximum you can have, and then I'll go around and I'll do, the 12 world quests that are required to get each of the 3 emissary boxes, and then I'll open them in rapid succession, just on the off chance that one of them will be a legendary. Uh, that's what worked for my last legendary, but but still, I've seen posts on Reddit and stuff where people have saved up like 50 or 60 emissary boxes and gotten 1 legendary out of it, whereas I opened 2 and got a legendary. So you, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, and I get mine mostly from treasure chests, just stopping and picking something up.
And I've never gotten one that way. I've gotten one from LFR. An LFR boss gave me one. I got one from a Mythic Plus Class Hall chest. I got one off of a Mythic Dungeon boss. I've gotten 2 off of emissary chests. I mean, they can drop from so many different places. But I've never gotten one from a treasure chest like you. Now that I
Yeah,
need
I've
to.
never gotten one from a raid.
Yeah, me either.
So, Tapachino says she found something new in WoW. You want to tell us what that is?
I did. It's actually may sound like duh to some people, but just recently I found that there's a big statue of Malorn in the Druid class hall, where if you click on him, he gives you a 5% haste buff for 60 minutes, which you can only use on the Broken Isles, but still, hey, 5% haste buff is kind of nice. And I'm like, wow, I never saw this before. That's kind of cool. And it's up by if you go to up where the fight path is, you can see the big statue there. Just click on him, you get a this free haste buff for 60 minutes.
So has that been there since when you first get into your class hall, or is that something that you earned? Do you know?
He's always been there, and I guess I just never thought to go up and click on him. And I just went up to say hi, I guess, and I just moused over, or maybe it was an accident, I just moused over him, and I realized a little hand came up that you could click on it, and I did that and said, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Makes me wonder if there's something in my mage hall I can click on.
And that's what I was just thinking with my hunter. I was like, I'm gonna have to go start clicking on all the statues.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, blaring out like, hey, click on me. It was just, he's a big druid hero, and he's just standing there, and he's huge. He's a big ghost type figure, and I'm like, oh wow, look at that.
Anybody else got anything new that they learned from playing WoW in the last week?
Well, I just learned. I mean, I knew that my priest has a class hall upgrade where you can get a free seal, a free for raids. And I found that my mage can get that too. And I'm like, why can't all the classes get that as part of their class hall upgrade?
Yeah. I think we talked about that with Durag before,
Mhm.
that the Death Knights don't get that, because I thought that would be something that would be available to every class, but it's not, and I don't know why it's not.
Do you mean as part
I'd like to
as
know.
as part of the that thing where you put resources in every week or whatever, as part of that? I mean, not
Yeah.
every
It's,
week, but
it's the class
Yeah,
hall upgrades.
Yeah, it's one of the choices you can get is to get a seal or get
and
something else. And I didn't realize that that was where my priest was getting it from. And then my mage just was like, oh, wait a minute, that's the same kind of upgrade.
Yeah,
And
it's
so I
tier.
checked all the other classes and it's like, you can't get it.
Yeah,
wow, my
it's tier
druid
5.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't realize others can't.
Yeah, just before your Where to Legendaries class hall upgrade, is for some classes, it allows us to get that token, the bonus roll token, Seal of Broken Fate.
Wow, that should be something that everyone should get.
Yeah, I think it costs like 5 class hall resources for the mission or something. So it's very, very cheap for us to get one bonus roll each week.
Yeah, mine for the hunters is 25.
Maybe it's
And
25. It could be.
and I think what it is that WoW prefers just certain classes to raid.
I don't know.
I
it
think
seems
it's because mages are full of awesome and stuff. So
everybody likes a tree.
And we all love the hunter.
Yeah, of course we do.
well,
Left
we
that
love
one wide
making
open.
fun of
Eating
them.
dirt
Anyway.
eating dirt or not.
Yeah, all right.
Not
All right.
not hunters in general, listeners, but the hunter, our awesome podcaster here, Fafford.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to cue the music. We're going to move on to Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
All right. Hi there. Tonight, I'd like to just talk a little bit about some special pets that you can find to put into your teams. And these are weather event pets. And these are pets that can only be found during certain conditions. So you have to kind of park someone out there and just log on every now and then just to check. One is the Silithid hatchling, and he is found in Tenaris during the sandstorms. And you have to have a sandstorm blowing around, so look to see if you can see any little swirly sand. He's out by the Gaping Chasm and the Noxious Lair. If you want an Arctic fox kit, which I think is one of the easiest ones to get, he's out in Storm Peaks and he comes out during snowstorms. That was like the first easy one I got. And then there's the baby ape, and he's out on Jaquero Island off Booty Bay. This, I think, is one of the harder ones to get because it has to be raining on the island, not on Booty Bay, on the island itself. And if you're out there, you'll be able to get him as one of your battle pets.
Very cool. Jobui's Transmog Minute.
All right. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about, we've been talking about weapons and enchantments, and I wanted to mention that there are some items out in the game that you can get that actually are light sources. I mentioned in a previous podcast that those are some of my favorites, and unlike most weapons in the game, when you have these weapons equipped, they will actually affect the environment. They'll light up walls, they'll light up your own tune, they light up the floor around you. It's pretty cool. Now, one of them that you can get is called Tibu's Blazing Longsword. It's a very cool sword. It looks a lot like a lightsaber, and when you equip it, it will cast a little bit of light on the ground. There are some staves as well that'll do that. There's a torch that you can get as well. Now these are very rare. WoW does not, or Blizzard does not create very many of these items, and they can be sometimes hard to find. However, you can find them on the auction house. Let's see here. I believe one of them is called the Spellfire Staff, if I recall. I may be wrong about that. I can't remember exactly the name of the staff, but there are a couple of staffs. It looks like a dog collar circling around a little orb on the end of a stick. It's not particularly fancy looking, but it does create a light source. So the other thing I want to mention is that if you are looking for a piece of gear to help complete your outfit, and you're having trouble coming up with what would work for you, contact me at askjobui@gmail.com. That's JOBUI. askjobui@gmail.com, and I will see what I can do about helping to find that perfect piece that you're looking for. You might want to send me your character name and what server so that I can look you up on Battle.net and tell me what piece of gear it is that you're looking for a new transmog to fit your outfit for. And I will see what I can do about finding a piece and letting you know on the air in a future podcast.
Cool. I might be actually emailing you myself there, Jobuy.
You're welcome to it. Anybody can send me your character name and your server name, and I will see what I can find for you.
Yeah, and what I'll do is in the description on our website, lionspridetavern.podomatic.com, each episode has a description. It's usually my intro. I will put that link in the intro on this podcast, so if you forgot it, you can come to the website and take a look, and it'll be there. So, and Epistle's not with us tonight, so there is no come at me a tanking minute, but I do want to mention that there were listeners in our raid that heard his episode from last week where if you had somebody on you, bring it to the tank, and that's exactly what they did, so I'm very proud of you for listening to that. We also tonight, for the first time ever, we're going to have Tapachino's Minute called Tap Into the Healing.
Thank you for that introduction to my new weekly tips for healers. This week's tip is about healing yourself. Don't forget to heal yourself when you're in a raid or in a party or in a group or fighting a boss. It can get pretty intense when you're in the middle of a big fight and you're so busy that sometimes you forget to heal yourself. So keep some of those self-heals handy. I use helium for my healing UI to heal the raid or group I'm in, but I also keep some quick heals on my hot bars, for those, oh my goodness, I don't want to die moments and possibly wipe the raid. So just don't forget, healers, that you are not going to do the raid of the group any good if you are dead. So heal yourself.
And do you have an email address that you want to throw up too?
Sure. If anybody would like to ask some questions about heals, and I'll take any spec. I'm not familiar with them all, but I will help with the do the research and stuff. I took my cue from JoBui actually. And if you want to email me at asktapachino, TAPACHINO @gmail.com, I'll try to get back to you. And just give me your name. Your server is not so important, but whether your Hoarder Guild is, Hoarder Alliance, I'm sorry, and what healing spec you are, which class. And I'd be glad to try to help.
Awesome. So, it's WFN News. Warcraft Fafford News. Really slow news week. All the news that's even out there is about speculating on 7.2, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let you know that the Dark Moon Fair starts this coming Sunday, the 5th, and will run for 7 days, and you can go have as much fun at the fair as you want. And that's it for the news. So we're approaching our time, guys. So we're gonna leave off with what I like to call reminiscing the past. So these are stories of older areas in the world of Azeroth. It could be a noob story, or it could just be a memory or something fun that you did when you were bringing your tunes up, because we all have multiple tunes. And this week we are going to talk about Oldham. JoBui, first tell us where Oldham's at.
Oldham is located at the southern tip of Kalimdor, which is the western island of the original. Well, I guess did that come out in Burning Crusade? Was when Kalimdor came out, or was that out in Vanilla? I forget.
I think it was Burning Crusades.
Well, yeah, I think it was too. It's all the way at the southern tip of Kalimdor. My favorite memory from Oldham is I'm a fan of the Indiana Jones movies, and I loved all of the homages that occurred to the Indiana Jones movies doing the questing in Oldham. I thought those were absolutely great. Now, my favorite quest in there is actually not pertaining to the Indiana Jones movie, but the one where you get to turn into a giant flaming ball and then you roll around destroying things. I absolutely loved that quest. I thought that was so much fun, just to roll around and destroy and beat the destruction. Oh, it was great.
That was
was
bowling
awesome.
for gnomes.
Yeah,
You had
I mean,
to roll over gnomes. Everybody wanted that to be a daily.
oh,
Yeah,
it was
it should
beautiful.
be a daily.
What a fun quest that was. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, there is something similar in Legion where you get to ride around on the big dinosaur in Suramar and smash stuff. It's the homage to Jurassic Park, but that one, the rolling around as a big flaming ball, smashing those little gnome guys that are all over the place, that was beautiful. A really good time.
I think you even actually picked some of them up as you were rolling as well. You'll see little arms and stuff
little
sticking
legs
out of the
sticking out of
ball.
the fireball. Yeah.
That was great.
Nice. Yes, I remember that. Okay, reminiscing the past. Lorelei, Oldham.
Mine's more of a memory, and it's just seeing it for the first time. When you get the quest to get on the wagon, and you're sitting in the back of the wagon, I turn my camera around to look backwards, and just going through that huge gate with the Anubis statues and the other gods standing there, and you come out into Oldham itself, and it's so beautiful. That was probably my favorite zone that they've ever put out. Seeing all the pyramids and the statues and the sand blowing around. It was just great. I loved doing the dailies there. I loved all the quests that were out there, and it was so interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's a beautiful place for just a big pile of sand. So,
Yeah.
Tapachino.
Oh, I have to agree. Eldom was one of my favorite places. Actually, it still is. I mean, I don't go there too much, but I do like to try to get that mount that you can get from archaeology there from the Tolver fragments there. But like JoBui, I love the Indiana Jones stuff, and my probably favorite quest there, and it's kind of gross, was, when he was fighting that dude with the plane, and the plane turns around and like in the movie, kind of, gets him in the head. I thought that was yeah, that was great. I also love, like I said, it is a little gory, but I love Egypt. I love the pyramids. I love the big stone structures just in general. And I just thought that was a great zone. The quests were fun. The scenery was just beautiful, and I just loved it. I wouldn't mind seeing, and it was bright. I mean, some of the places they come up with the kind of dark and dreary, but it was bright and the sunshine, and just a fun place, to quest and to be in.
Yep, I agree. Bronze beer, reminiscing the past in Oldham. You got any stories or?
I honestly kind of like the real-time strategy quest line when you're busy sort of encountering with some of the people there, and you're basically just controlling a group of people. Because that's when they first introduced, second expansion in which they have vehicle systems. So they were really altering the system to fit a different genre. It was sort of like a bit of a homage to Warcraft 3 and that series, which I just kind of enjoyed being around.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the fact, I think that was one of the first times they had repeatable daily quests that came out. It definitely was in that expansion. But one of my favorite ones was you're up on the ridge line and you got the big cannons and you can shoot over on the mountainside. And you had to time it out so your cannon would drop as the guys are marching down the hill so you could wipe out the whole group. That was literally my favorite one. I looked forward to coming back and doing that one every day.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
And a little frustrating when you had other people going after your targets.
Oh, I know,
it's
right.
Oh man.
Would take forever.
The expanding bullseye, and all of a sudden it's oh, that's where I just picked.
Yeah. Hey, that was my spot.
Yeah. I always used to go with my wife, and she'd just do that to me every time. But all right, guys. Hey, that was fantastic. We did really well on our raid this week. We got Tapachino's tap into the healing. Epistle, I hope he's doing better. Bronzebeard, you make sure that you let us all know how he's doing.
Sure thing.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next week with another podcast from Lions Pride Tavern. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
everyone.
fun raiding.
Thanks, folks. See you next week.
Have a good week.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern Podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.